right now, according to eMarketer, digital video is a $4.1 billion business. Depending on which numbers you look at, that's probably about double over the last 18 months, which is phenomenal growth and deserved growth. There's been a lot of work that's been put into this market space. The same entity, eMarketer, has projected by 2017 it'll be a $9.1 billion business. So over the next roughly 4 years, we're looking at another double in that number. They've been known to change those estimates as we go along, so it's possible it could go even higher. We certainly feel like the NewFront is one of the events, one of the watersheds in digital video that will help us get to that 9.1 and potentially exceed it in that time period. So market forces that are driving it. On the positive side, you've got lots of scale in terms of content. There's plenty of content out there. Secondly is there are great companies and technologies in the space who are working very hard on a myriad of solutions to really make this the kind of mature business that it needs to be. A close to $10 billion industry is a big industry, and so it needs those underlying technologies to make it work, and that part's fantastic too. And I'd say the third thing is probably the NewFront. When we built the NewFront originally back in 2008, we did so right around upfront season to create that natural tension between the two. And that tension now with the other founding partners who have participated in the other companies beyond that have really created a marketplace to counter the upfronts. And that tension alone creates a lot of heat around this market. It demands that marketers, agencies, et cetera, pay a lot of attention to digital video as something to be reckoned with. So the NewFront's done a big job in all of that. So I think those are some of the market pressures that are helping bring those dollars up. There are, however, some market pressures that are keeping it down a bit. With that scale also comes a lot of content that marketers don't necessarily want to associate themselves with, or that they perceive not to want to associate themselves with. Over time, what we're going to find is that there is better and better content coming into that space. That content is premium, and that premium content has scale, and that's going to be the lion's share of where these dollars are going to come from when we start seeing dollars shifting from television into what is now known as digital video. So that's one thing that is so far keeping things down a bit. Another thing that's keeping things down is standardization. It's standardization both from a buying perspective and also from a creative perspective. So creative standards are kind of tough. If you're a traditional TV advertiser, you're basically creating 15s and 30s and 60s. And we've gotten to a point where that space, a long time ago, that space is completely mature. But in digital video, we haven't decided whether this world is about 15s or 5s or 30s. We haven't decided whether it is pre-roll or post-roll. We haven't decided whether it's just about advertising or whether it's about content creation. There are certainly many technologies that are coming into the space right now that require marketers to think about the space differently. And so all of these things mean that there are no creative standards. And then from a buying standard, while we at Digitas believe very strongly in the idea of buying on impressions, because this should be a one-to-one space, not a group GRP type space, you still have many marketers that are looking at digital video and would like to be able to use the same currency that they use in television. So the idea of creating maybe a bridge metric that takes those two and puts them together, not necessarily to buy on that bridge metric or to buy on GRPs, but to make some equations to how every impression delivers the way it does in television would be very helpful. So I think that's also another factor that's keeping pressure down. There's about 25 NewFronts that are taking place this year, which is phenomenal and very exciting. And I think what you're going to see from most of the presenters is an attempt at original content on their air, either ones that they partner with a production company on or they do in-house. You'll see that from AOL, you'll see it from Yahoo, you'll see it from YouTube and from Vivo. So you're going to see a lot of that. But in addition to that, what is probably going to become a bigger theme this year, and we at Digitas for our NewFront are certainly going in that direction, is going more away from just the content to the context around the content. Because even in some of the things I've read recently about how AOL, for instance, is going to be handling their NewFront, they're saying they're talking about distribution channels. They're going to be talking about measurement. And these are things that are different than the content itself, but important in the story that gets told to marketers as to how that content is most relevant to them. Again, if you think about the TV corollary, in television, you've got the distribution baked in, and the measurement is just assumed at this point through Nielsen. But in digital video, we're still a little bit early in the game on how that content gets distributed to make sure it has the audience it needs, and that gets measured not only for the delivery in terms of the reach, but how do we take it beyond that in the digital space to go to the back end and attribute those video views to actions taken for a client. So those things are going to be discussed a lot more on the stages around New York this year for NewFront, and I think rightfully so. In the early days of the NewFront, for Digitas anyway, a lot of the conversation was basically conversation that we were having with a whole bunch of people we were bringing in to make the conversation even happen in the first place. We've gotten to a point now, and you know that $4.1 billion industry of digital video substantiates this, that it is a big business, and as such, most clients are leaning forward now on digital video. It wasn't for a lack of interest before, but it was probably because of a lack of accountability and efficacy, where they weren't moving dollars as far into the middle of the pot as they are starting to do now. So what we're finding is with some of our clients, like any bell curve, we've got some clients who are all in and are moving already a number of their dollars, a good chunk of their budgets into digital video and away from what is more of the traditional buckets, including television. We've got some on the other end of the spectrum who are still in learning stages, and they're sort of wading into the pool. And then we've got a large group right in the middle who have committed dollars, will do things based on their objectives and what is driving results for their business, and will also use some innovation dollars to play around with where's this business going next, where's this industry going next. So it really is a large spectrum, as it should be. At some point, probably in a couple of years from now, we will see a digital video ecosystem that looks more like television, where we have everybody in the pool and in a lot more meaningful way.